Hey everyone, I'm Rooster, and welcome back to Mechabellum. Today we're facing Dillo in this game, and well, I get my favorite specialist, the elite spec right there with the spiders and the crawlers. It's quite a special game, with a comp that I do not play that much myself, so, be ready for a lot of air units. Now, Dillo here decides to go with a pack that has 5,000 hit points to begin with. The speed specialist with sledges and void eyes. The matchup here is, I would say, alright. I mean, void eyes are quite good against tarantulas, and sledgehammers definitely can stall. But hey, I'm elite spec, so I can get into void eyes myself, and because of the level advantage, I should get the better end of the deal. Now, I decided to immediately sell out of my large turret there on the left side, because that's where I want to push. In this scenario, I don't think it's that viable to try and push into the Chungus, because it's a wall plus the anti-armor cannon, and yeah, that's basically like having 2 extra units in the early game, so very hard to push into. I'd much rather wager my chances on the left. Now, lucky for me, Dillo decides to go for a symmetrical lineup here, instead of double stacking the sledges. I would definitely have a worse time if that was what he went for, but he decides to kind of take a more measured approach, which does favor me. I take some time here to kind of have a think, like, what do I want? I wasn't quite sure if I wanted Void Eyes. I was thinking about potentially going for Marksman instead, as it would allow me to kind of be ready for any anti-air threats that may show up. But I decided to go for the Void Eyes in the end because they do have better DPS. Marksman would have been fine here though, but they're not necessarily known to be the best aggressive units. They don't push in that fast. But they would have been okay, right? Like, you trade having less DPS whilst still being able to one-shot the sledgehammers and void eyes, for the fact that you at least have an anti-air unit on the board already. Anyway, here we go. The middle turret is doing a good job, I would say, of clearing some chaff there. Actually do manage to take out a fair few crawlers, and thanks to that, not too many units go for my tower. One void eye, though, ends up there, and it will take the tower down. Thankfully, we've killed most of the units here. Only 2 Void Eyes are really ready to try and take down my units. They will do so, as I lose one of my Tarantulas. Still have a couple Void Eyes left. Hopefully, we'll be able to clean things up here. Looks like it's going to be tough, though. This Void Eye does its very best. But in the end, it will be Dillo victorious on round 1. Now, round number 2, we get immediate unit reinforcements, and my eyes are drawn towards that Mustang. It's level 1, so it's a unit that I cannot get myself, and it covers my lack of anti-air, right? The other option would have been to pick up the Stormcaller and kind of position it here on the right to catch some of those units on my weak side, but I would have had to buy an air unit, and so I just go for the Mustangs instead. We also set up a Void Eye here on the inside of the turret to try and catch that straggler Void Eye that we saw last round taking my tower, and I'm also kind of starting to set up for a potential staircase, because I do want to keep my spiders around. They're a very good chaff clear unit to have. Slightly expensive, as you typically will need range and high explosive, and of course working with elite, so the cost of getting there is higher because the units are more expensive. And I was surprised about this. Immediate aggression here from Dillo as he buys a wasp pack and goes for my right side tower. Was a little surprised because the Mustang was offered, but I guess I would never expect an attack like this on the right side, and it's successful as he gets a tower debuff. The Stormcaller that was picked up also does a great job of taking down my spiders, and so this round is much less close as Dillo convincingly wins. So now we have a problem to solve, but I don't mind too much. We've already got a Mustang on the board. We can just add another one on that right side. And I was thinking, well, ideally I pick up another spider, because I did set up this Void Eye to kind of be helped by a spider, plus there's a chaff back there that needs handling. And, well, no important cards offered on round 3. I can just skip and use all my money, and I have perfect money at that, to go for a spider, a Mustang, and even 1 extra crawler. I wanted this extra crawler because the Stormcaller is currently, I believe, instantly locking on to my spider, and that's not something we can have. I don't mind the Stormcaller being there too much. I think with the crawler streaming in, I should be okay versus it. But I do need that crawler up front. So that's what we go for. Void Eyes will get suppression shots from my opponent. And we'll have to see how this goes. Right side definitely should be in my favor. And here Dillo picks up a field recovery, but I believe he undoes as he decides to sell his Wasp preemptively, expecting another Mustang to show up, which he's right about. And things are looking all right here. I was kind of trying to set up the staircase, right? Ideally, I would have maybe one more spider in the middle. And my plan here would be to just play the Void Eye Mirror. My opponent went for the suppression shots first. And as you can see, he does not run range on his Void Eyes. So what I wanted to do is grab range first and then maybe go for charge shot if we needed it against the sledgehammers. I kind of play out that mirror. Of course, it's a long way away as it's multi-tax. I still need range on my spiders too. Maybe I need range on my Mustangs. So we'll have to see what the cards bring and how the battle unfolds. Oil now gets layered on the left side, slowing me down even more. Void Eyes insta-lock. Stormcallers are having a field day with my slowed units. And while the right side is looking like we're winning, the left side is holding on for dear life. We will get a debuff here, luckily, but it's a level 2 turret, so it'll take a while. In the meantime, there's not much left of my units. In fact, there is nothing left of my units. The benefit here is my opponent slows himself down and doesn't get a tower debuff. It does look like my level 2 units here prevail and will be able to take a round. We get the second tower debuff, we clean up the remainder of Dillo's army, and that means we stop the bleeding. Round number 4, Super Supply shows up. Not much to think about. Very, very good card. First round it can show up, and when both are healthy and, you know, there's no prospect of closing out the game in the next, 2 to 3 rounds, I think it's close to a must pick. So both of us go for it. It does mean that we have much less money to spend. So sadly, no techs for me this round. We just pick up another spider. And I believe another crawler, which we put behind this turret, this tower. Reason for that is we just need, a steady stream of crawlers and chaff to protect my Mustangs and my tarantulas. You will see me sell out, actually, of my Mustang to be able to get the tarantula range anyway. As you've heard me say many times before, one of the rules of thumb that I do like to use in, let's say 80 to 90% of my games is try and get range on your main chaff clear unit by round 4. And here we are. Now, we had to pick a very expensive, economy card, but we get to sell the Mustang and still get that range. The reason why I sell my Mustang is because nothing on the enemy board warranted Mustangs being around. My opponent is playing sledgehammers. In fact, he buys 2 more. They're playing Void Eyes and, things like crawlers. Nothing that spiders can't handle or that Void Eyes can't handle. Now, doing this, I do leave myself open potentially to wasps being repurchased at some point. So I was thinking about potentially buying the Mustangs back at some point and then giving them range. For the time being, I wanted to prioritize kind of the core part of my army, which for now was spiders and Void Eyes, right? And at least we've gotten over one hurdle, which is ranging the spiders. We're doing well here. Left side is getting stalled. Right side won convincingly yet again. I think a missile was used there, but thankfully it was tanked for the most part by the crawlers that we put behind the tower. So very happy with that. Couple crawlers there on the level 2 tower. Gives us 7 seconds of debuff. Might prevent us from getting debuffed. It will. So happy about that. The oil kind of working in our favor there. And we do win. The oil now goes away. And we're in round number 5 with an immediate unit drop. So round 2, round 5, earliest unit drops possible. And immediately my eyes are drawn to the Phantom Ray here. I can see the Wraith, and my anti-air isn't great, so that's something that needs solving. And I'm thinking, you know what? Nothing there is good against Phantom Rays. Nothing on my opponent's board currently is good against Phantom Rays. I'm elite, which means that I can buy level 2 Phantoms. Why don't we just play Hardcore Phantoms? It's a very, very snowbally unit. One of the most snowbally units, I would say, in the game. If your opponent doesn't expect it coming, you can easily just start spamming them and just never let your opponent recover. So this round is a massive one. I sell my other Mustang, which sells for 300, which allows me to get 3 blue Phantom Rays and also get range. Remember, we also got that level 3 Phantom Ray for free. So all of a sudden, our board went from looking, you know, like a classic kind of spider board that maybe wants to get into Void Eyes with some Mustangs sitting around, to being Spider Phantom Ray. Kind of reminiscent of Spider Phoenix, except we have less range on the Phantoms, but, you know, we sacrifice that for tankiness. Opponent here goes for range on the Sledgehammers and also has the Phantom Ray, but it is currently unteched, so we should be favored there. Sledgehammer goes on the flank there, but we should be able to deal with it. Maybe we'll need to add a Spider there at some point, because dealing with this Crawler is a bit annoying. I could missile it, though, for a couple rounds if I really need the deployments. And let's see how this goes. I mean, we should win, surely, with how many air units we have here, as my opponent basically only has his own Phantom Ray to try and get rid of this. Now, he's doing a good job. I will say the left side crumbled. You know, my strongest Phantom Ray got pulled to the flank. That does open up the tower, which means that we will get debuffed. And his Phantom Ray is starting to clean up my level 3 Phantoms. There we go. We do fight back, and we do get a debuff in return, which means that we should be able to close this. No more air units left. All that needs to be done is kill those remaining Sledgehammers. We will get debuffed one more time, but that doesn't really matter. A Spider survives, and 5 Phantoms as well. But now, the jig is up, and Dillo knows what I'm going to be playing. All I am kind of claiming here is that I'm too far ahead already, right? I have played many times into Phantom, and I know that it is tricky to deal with when your opponent has this many and just can keep buying more and more and more Phantoms. So that is what we do. We add 2 more to the field, and here I'm eyeing a second tech, which would be Energy Shield. Energy Shield is very, very strong. I think it's the strongest tech on Phantom Ray by a mile. It makes it exceptionally hard to kill. Even for things like Raiden, which, you know, in theory, you would expect to be quite good into Phantom. It shoots 3 beams. Phantom is a pack of 3. But if you look at the stats, 6,000 damage, the level 2 Phantom Ray has over 6,000 hit points. And a shield blocks any instance of damage. So that will take 4 shots from a Raiden to kill the pack, assuming it is shooting at all 3 of the Phantoms within the pack, which is not guaranteed either. So, you know, when we have 6 packs of Phantoms at this point, which all need 4 shots, in the ideal scenario, to take out every single pack, you can do the math. It takes a long, long time with a reload speed of 4.6 seconds. Now, the flank here doesn't get dealt with too quick, and I have some problems. The left side spiders are dying a bit too quick, but the right side, honestly, is going rather well. It does look like we should be able to get a debuff, but you can see how long it takes for these Raidens to get through my Phantoms. They are simply not getting there. You know, some Phantoms are dying here and there, but I feel like they've been locked on for an eternity, and still we just brute force. And that is what Phantom can be very good at. It catches you off guard, and then you just snowball from there. You keep piling Phantoms upon Phantoms. You make sure that you get the Energy Shield, and, you know, the opponent just doesn't find the right answer. What should you buy in this situation, you might ask? It's a good question. I think that if you catch it early enough, you can go for something like Farseer AA. If your opponent does not run Armor Enhancement, you can try and make do with Mustang. Wasps with range and AA are good too, but they are vulnerable to a bunch of different units, right? Mustangs, notably AA Tarantula, Fortress AA. Relying solely on AA Wasps can be tricky. And another option, I guess, would be Overlord. Overlord is rather good. Into Phantom Rays, they have more damage available, so they actually tend to clear the packs quicker than something like Raiden. Now, on this round, we have Advanced Targeting System picked up, I believe, for Dillo. I was quite surprised by this. Very expensive card. And honestly, I didn't even mind too much. I know that I am outranged, right? Tarantulas and Phantoms are both quite short range. And I'm mostly just threatening to, you know, snowball. Like, just stat check my opponent. And instead of more Raiden showing up, we have triple Mustang being picked up with range and missile interceptor. One of them is spawned in on the flank here. So once I see that, I will likely have to put a Spider right here to tank the sledges and the Mustangs, and also clear them a bit quicker. For now, I'm making do with 1 missile, And you can see we're just adding more and more phantoms to the board. I mean, now we're already up to what? That is 6, 9 phantoms with double tech. I am beaconing backwards one of my tarantulas because it was kind of just running in by itself whilst these phantom rays over here were busy dealing with the flank. So I'm trying to salvage it. But yeah, here the board is getting diversified, right? And I sometimes Missile Interceptor can work, but you kind of need to match like every single pack of phantoms, and I didn't believe in it here. I didn't think that this was enough Mustang. One of the packs is on the flank, so that will, you know, normally speaking, be taken out quite quickly. Speaking of getting taken out quite quickly, there goes my left side tower. I probably should try and do a better job of blocking that. At the same time, you know, we've already recovered from the 9-second debuff, as there's nothing on the right side to capitalize on said debuff, and, well, these Raidens don't really know where to look. They're going to the right, and in the meantime, I've got this pack of 3 phantoms just kind of crushing on the left side, arriving from the flank they dealt with. We get a debuff. Sadly, we get counter debuffed. Again, though, just look at how long it takes to get through my army. It just takes way too long. The Mustangs are intercepting half of the shots, and still the Raidens cannot get it done. So we brute force our way through a round yet again, and, well, now I know that Mustangs have been picked up, and I can go for burst mode to just overwhelm the Mustangs, and as long as my chaff clear is good enough, it shouldn't matter, really. Round number 8, Farseer shows up, gets picked up by Dillo. I mentioned it earlier, it is another solid unit into the Phantoms, but, you know, at this point his board is diversifying a lot between Raidens and Mustangs and Farseer being picked up. Gotta commit to one thing at some point. For us, I didn't really need any of this. I think Wraith would have died way too quickly. Marksman and Farseer were offered as well, which I was a bit afraid of. So I just ended up going for the Scorpion because it sells for the most alongside that Wraith, and maybe it can get some pot shots into the Sledgehammers. I decided to put it on the top right flank. Perhaps we can pull away some of the chaff and get into the tower quicker. And this is the round where I decided to go for the second tech on Tarantula. We still do need some chaff clear. Mustangs were added, so another reason to go for the high explosive. And instead of buying, you know, a ton more of the Phantom Rays, I'm happy with my board right now. And I just pick up a bunch more of the Tarantulas. One right here, just to tank the Sledgehammers and the Mustang. It's not going to die. Far too tanky. And with the high explosive, hopefully we'll be able to get there. We do loan. Temp range, temp speed has been picked up. The oil, sadly, will slow us down. I have also, I believe, picked up an additional crawler. At least I thought so. And here we see the burst being picked up. Yeah, the crawler is right here. And I am thinking of going Subterranean Blitz here as well, because the chaff clear on my opponent's side of the board is mostly Mustang. I guess Sledgehammers are helping a little bit as well. But going second defense enhancement is lovely for my Phantoms, right? It gets doubled by the energy shield. It's great on the Tarantulas, fantastic for crawlers, especially when paired with Subterranean Blitz, so those stats should serve us well if you manage to find the resources for it. Right side here does get pulled. It seems like we will be getting in, but my spiders are slowed down a ton, so sadly here the Phantoms are kind of left on to their own devices before the spiders arrive to finally clear the way and allow them to shoot at the tower. Left side seems to be struggling a bit more now, though, but we eventually will get there. Spider trying to move in, help out, clear as many Mustangs as possible. Right side needs to do the same thing. As the left falls, my tower opens up, and I might get debuffed. This Raiden does seem hellbent on grabbing the tower. It will do so. Now, during the debuff, we have that Farseer to deal with. We miss a burst, and Dillo will be managing to pick up a round. Still doing fine, though. 3.2k hit points remaining. I wasn't too worried. We get a orbital bombardment here, and both of us pick it up very quickly. Cheap spell at this point of the game, and, I mean, some good targets there to hit, potentially. Could keep the Scorpion, could also sell it. Bunch of things available to me here. Again, immediate loan, temp range, temp speed, take the levels on the Phantoms. And now I was thinking, okay, well, it seemed like we had some problems chaff clearing there. So let's maybe grab a couple more Tarantulas. And at the same time, my opponent's ground-based DPS is not amazing. The Raidens are level 2, granted, but they're not exactly made to take down things like Tarantulas, unless they are way over leveled. But, you know, I can buy level 3 Tarantulas, which are quite beefy, and I can take the second defense enhancement too, which I talked about. So here it is, boost the stats of my board immensely, and yeah, I mean, these Tarantulas are sitting at near 60k hit points a piece, and hopefully it should be able to help us chaff clear a lot better. I don't mind the orbital, by the way. Not that big of a concern for me. The only thing that would die is maybe a couple crawlers, but that's not worth shielding for. And, I mean, Raidens are quite good at breaking shields, so if I end up losing and lose a bunch of shields that did nothing, then, you know, I just put myself behind economically. Raidens now come out in force. 2 more picked up, and EMP has been clicked. A bit afraid of this. EMP is very good against Tarantulas. Specifically, as you can see, we get pretty much one shot, and it turns off all the techs which Tarantula is so reliant upon. So left side, complete disaster. Luckily, I do have some late Tarantulas coming in, and some late crawlers. And perhaps that will allow us to kind of clear the path a bit better. Right side seemed to have gone our way. That Scorpion did pull the Raiden. It gets bursted down, and now we try and work away at this tower. Grab the debuff. That is 7 seconds where we are heavily favored. The left side has now started to collapse, and things are looking rather good. A couple of my Tarantulas are still getting debuffed, but at this point, there's not much left on the battlefield. And as we burst down the remaining Raiden, we have to do the tally, because that's a fair amount of units on the board. In fact, it's simply enough to win. -8. Very close. You could not have afforded to lose a single unit there. I mean, I guess 2 crawlers for the extra 8 damage, but yeah, we managed to get it done on the orbital round, no less. But it showcases the power of Phantom Ray in certain scenarios, and especially on Elite, I think it is a great unit to try and make use of. I don't play it that often, but I will try and make it work sometimes when I don't have a solid air DPS unit like Phoenix, and I get a nice unit drop, as I do here. Again, I think Elite Spec makes this work very well, because you get easy access to level 2 Phantom Rays, which makes the energy shield even better. And yeah, paired with the spiders, that worked a treat. I think maybe the right side here should have been defended a bit more. I also think that going for Mustang perhaps was a bit of a waste. They seem to do all right, but, you know, in the end, it just diversifies the board a little bit too much between, you know, not being able to buy more Raidens, I guess. So it would have been interesting to see, like, how this board would have developed if down the line there would have been more Raidens instead of all of these Mustang. Though chaff clear was a concern as well, right? If I don't win here, I would likely have tried to go for something like Subterranean Blitz, picked up a few more crawlers. Another option would have been to just, you know, grab some Farseers and go for Photon Coating. We had a lot of moves still available to us as we were quite healthy. Anyway, if you like this video, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know down below what you think of this Ray carry game. Have you played it before? Are you a fan or not? Let me know. If you want to stay up to date with my latest content, please consider subscribing. And if you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. With that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.